Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community, welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today's video is on the X95K Sony 4K flagship mini LED panel. It is the return of the Backlight master drive, and it is a triumphant return. This panel is absolutely gorgeous. I've spent many days and many hours with the 85-inch version of this panel at Value Electronics, and it is absolutely stunning, and I do not hesitate to recommend it to many of you. However, for others, the Backlight master drive will be missing when you need it most.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me, and I apologize for the dramatic intro. However, it does pain me to do this as I love the X95K. It is the LED I've been waiting for many years. The Backlight master drive is back. It is here on a 4K flagship. It is also on the 8K flagship, the Z9K, which we have not seen yet. However, its greatest strength is disabled in gaming with VRR enabled. It's not quite as simple as that sounds. Many will say simply disable VRR and you're all set. However, VRR on console gaming is not simply screen tearing. That's something that we always thought with PC. However, consoles are using it as a different tool. Xbox and now the PS5 are using it in a way that unlocks the frame rate, making many of these games playable in ways we have never seen on console. And unfortunately, when VRR is enabled, local dimming, and to a larger respect, the Backlight master drive is disabled. It disappears, and it is this panel's greatest strength. In standard game mode, if you don't want VRR, the game mode is absolutely gorgeous. I will show you that now. And then about the 9-minute mark, I will show you what it looks like with VRR. However, disabling VRR, or variable refresh rate, in the Sony PlayStation 5, but the Sony panel isn't as easy as that sounds. It is arduous at best, and it is immersion breaking. I will show you what that looks like. But for me, I wanted you to see my face as I describe this. I am very disappointed with how VRR impacts and ruins the picture quality of one of the best LEDs I have ever seen. Alright guys, here we are in game mode. Before we start, I want to say very special thanks to Robert and Wendy Zahn of Value Electronics for supplying the X950K for review. I was able to go in there after hours and spend more than one day and many hours gaming and testing this panel. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the description below for all of their information and tell them that Brian from Whisper Status sent you. Thank you again to Robert and Wendy. Now, as we're here going through the standard game mode, I don't mean standard, I just mean game mode. There is no VRR enabled. You can see that all of the different settings that you're familiar with Sony panels are still here. Advanced contrast enhancer, reality creation, black adjust, live color. Sony has always been known to be able to have a lot of headroom with their settings, being able to alter the image quite a bit, which has been one of their greatest strengths. I love the way the game mode looks on Sony panels, especially LEDs through the years. We're looking at God of War on PS5. It looks spectacular, very bright. It's a very clean panel. Again, we're at 85 inches. Now, HDR hits so much different on panels that have a higher peak brightness. Now, as we go down to game mode, you can see it is locked into game mode. There is an instant game option. I think you can disable it, though at this time I could not find that. Hopefully that is something that we can change. Now, I went in and I reset the game mode to default just to show you how it looks out of the box. I do like black adjust. I do like advanced contrast enhancer in some of my games. Remember, with games, we're not really looking for accuracy. But it's game mode, the X95K. If you do not enable VRR. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous game mode, and it is very responsive. I am not sure of the input lag at this time. We haven't measured that yet. Now we go back into the game section, and you can see again, it is disabled. I have to choose game mode when gaming. I think that can be disabled, as you can see here. Auto picture mode, but I have not found a way to disable it. As we go through the picture, we have gradation preferred and brightness preferred. So the tone mapping is working in the game mode. It does look different. There is not an HGIG function. Black adjust, I do like the feature. It does work in game mode. And just showing you how all of these features alter the image. Now, those of you like Sony's signature, very accurate colors, yet they are vibrant and not oversaturated. Again, this is an 85-inch panel, very bright. With the backlight master drive and local dimming on high, it is gorgeous. The blacks are very deep. Again, specular highlights, deep blacks are a winning combination. Now here again, just going through the settings, showing you smooth gradation. I do believe I go into the motion settings as well, as many of you do use motion. Reality creation is a very popular tool. I don't use it much, but some of you love to implement it to make the picture as clean as possible. And many of you are able to yield a much cleaner image without noise if you put it to a certain measurement that you like. Now I'm showing here motion flow. You can also put in, clear. And a lot of you use this, but unfortunately it does darken the image. I'm going all the way down. At 1, it's not bad, and it does feel very responsive. I remember years ago when clear would darken it to where it was unplayable. At 1, it's not bad, and then at max, it does darken the image. But it doesn't add a lot of flicker. That's not my camera. There's no flicker to really be found, where in the past you may see flicker with it. So if you like that feature, it does work. We'll be disabling that for the rest of today's video. Now, as we transition into Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, we've seen this on many different panels this year, G2, C2, and the new QD OLED. Now, what I want to do is go back in here and show you, again, dynamic tone mapping, and show you that we have gradation preferred. Again, we do not have and there's local dimming. I'm showing you the impact that it has. Now, in very colorful games, disabling local dimming doesn't look terrible. It's something your eyes can get used to. But in these first few scenes, I want to show you the flexibility of the settings and how good the picture quality looks when you are just in enhanced HDMI. I will show you how to implement VRR, where you find it on the Sony. But I want to show you that this picture looks as good as any of the OLEDs. It is just brighter. There's depth in the clouds. It is beautiful. HGIG is something that I've been using more and more with the brighter QD OLEDs and the LG G2. Now, as we go back through here, we'll look at, again, at gradation preferred. I know I'm repeating the steps, but I want you to get comfortable and familiar with the settings. And there is advanced contrast enhancer. Many of you like that. It does alter the image quite a bit. Local dimming, still there. Now, I'll only be putting VRR on the games that are actually supported by it, except for one, because I want to show you the impact of local dimming towards the end. That'll be on Returnal. But look at the specular highlights, how bright the skybox is. Now, here we are in Dirt 5. VRR is still not available, or not enabled, I should say, and it does look absolutely stunning. It is very responsive. If you'll never use VRR, then don't hesitate. It's an excellent pick. And I don't like the term casual or hardcore gamer. I'll be following a video up, a tech therapy video on that, as I think that's misleading. I am a hardcore gamer, but picture quality is first for me. Now, all these games are very playable. However, VRR enabled, especially on the PS5 recently, literally unlocks the frame rate where many of the games that we were playing at 30 can now be played at much higher frame rates without a hit to picture quality. Dirt looks excellent. Again, very bright panel. And the movement is very good. Now, if you're going from an OLED to an LED, you will feel a difference in the pixel response. Pixel response is instantaneous on OLEDs. It will always feel a little sluggish initially. Did not see any ghosting of any kind. Here we are looking at Guilty Gear. We're doing SDR gameplay here. Again, VRR not enabled. There I am measuring a character, which is 2 feet tall at 85 inches. I think we can agree that the picture quality is stunning on the X95. Again, deep blacks, shallow detail is their preference. They do want to keep shadow detail while limiting blooming. I will also tell you that when local dimming is disabled in film, it is not nearly, look at the black bars, it is not nearly as impactful. Now here I am going into enabling VRR, which is in the enhanced HDMI section. I'll drop the aperture so you can actually see it. Now once I drop VRR out and I transition into the next, there it is. As I transition into the next screen, there is something that you'll see that'll be very, very jarring to you. And it happens right, oh, there we go, we're showing it now. Yep, as we go into it, showing you again how to actually access it. I'm sorry, going in. And there it is, it's in enhanced format. There's only 2 that do this, which is 3 and 4. Go in and hit VRR, and you'll see what happens to the screen once I enable it. What you will have to do is then back all the way out, and this is what you're greeted with. Many of you that have struggled with LEDs in the past are familiar with that purplish screen. That is when local dimming is completely gone. Now here we are playing Spider-Man. Now VRR is enabled. It is very responsive. The challenge is without the gaming optimizer of both Samsung and LG, it's hard to tell what you're actually getting. These games all have performance, they have quality, they have ray tracing modes. Now it's hard to tell that the game doesn't look quite as good as it can. As VRR is enabled, we'll go through the settings and I will show you what has changed. Now this isn't a very dark game, but I did want to start with this one as it's got a decent image in terms of black level. It's not very dark. But as we go here into the settings, immediately you'll see as we get down, make sure all that eco stuff is off. Sorry, go back. Sometimes you have to back all the way out. Going down, you will see now that it seems like the tone mapping doesn't do much. So I'm not sure if that's been disabled, but it doesn't seem to be nearly as impactful as it did. And then those other settings are fine. However, when you get to the most important one of all, it's gone. Now, unfortunately, sometimes you'll see that and say, oh, Brian, it's locked to high. It's not. I've backed out. I will show you later that it's completely gone. Now, in a game like this, which is very colorful, it might not affect you. You might not think it's a big deal. And if you don't think it's a big deal, then get right out there and buy it. But for so many of you in this community, we have a huge gaming group here. And the gaming group, as we go back in through the settings, it seems like, as I go through these settings, not to interrupt myself, when you look at the description of many of the PlayStation 5 games, it'll tell you 120 is available. This is available with VRR. Now, even when you disable VRR, those menus are still something you can pick. It doesn't tell you, oh, you can't. So that's confusing in itself. However, when you disable VRR, local dimming comes back. And without a gaming optimizer, it's hard to tell the impact that it has. Now, why you see me repeating this more than once is I thought simply by disabling VRR on the PlayStation 5, we'd be all set. However, you have to go all the way out to the enhanced format and then choose the inputs. You have to choose enhanced format over the VRR format, which is a challenge. And I'm sure there's other games where I'm going to have to go all the way out, disable VRR, and then restart the game. Because as I went back and forth, I found that I still was in VRR even though I had disabled it on the PlayStation. Now I'm here on dirt. Looks good. VRR is enabled, very responsive, and I have all the benefits. Ray tracing, higher frame rate, the game feels great, and it looks good. So many of you at this point in the video are saying, 15 minutes in, what's the big deal? Looks good to me. And you'd be right. In certain games, especially colorful titles, it doesn't seem as impactful. Again, showing you the settings. Showing you that local dimming is disabled. And as I slow down here, I will back all the way out. Disable VRR, and these are the steps on how you have to do it. You need to go back out to Enhance HDMI, which is here, external inputs. Come all the way out here to HDMI 3 or 4. 3 is the eARC, by the way. And HDMI 1 and 2 only have an... So here we go. HDMI 2.1 is only on 3 and 4. Go back to Enhance. Come back out. Now watch the screen. You'll know it works. Look how dark that screen is. Not a single blemish. And now look how crisp the picture quality is with VRR disabled. Now think back to what I just showed you. That flash of the screen, local dimming was in full effect. There was not one cloud, no purple, completely black. Without it, it was an absolute mess. And here I'll show you that local dimming is back. And you can actually see it in the picture quality of the title. Now, why am I being so serious in regards to this? I am a gamer. It is extremely important to me. And the X95K is now no longer an option. Now, I hope this can be remedied. I doubt it can be. Again, I'll be doing a tech therapy video on this. Here we are with Spider-Man. Again, very colorful, doesn't really impact you. And you can see all the different settings as I go through that VRR helps. Now, variable refresh rate, as I came to know it with G-Sync and FreeSync on PC, was to avoid screen tearing. However, VRR on the PlayStation and HDMI 2.1 have been used for things like 40 FPS. It's been used to give you higher frame rates. Screen tearing doesn't seem to be the focus, which is very misleading. We know due to built-in V-Sync in these games, screen tearing rarely happens. That's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about that VRR offer. Look how that changes. VRR offers higher frame rate and a different way to impact these games. Now, as I go back through, those settings are still there. It still looks like you can enable them and choose these higher frame rates. But as I show you here, the local dimming is gone. Now, this is where I will show you the evidence of how bad it can be. This is Returnal. This is a stunning game, very bright specular highlights. It can be very dark. And if you look at the HUD down by her legs, we are, I believe, on low for local dimming. Now, VRR is not enabled at this point. I will simulate it with local dimming, as I will show you. And watch how much the image changes by her legs. Now, I'll even go gradation preferred. That way we don't have over brightening. Local dimming was off. So think about this. Local dimming was off and it wasn't that bad. Now here we are on high. Now look at her legs. You see the haloing around the objects as we get to off. And on high, it's nearly gone. It makes all the difference in a game like this. Many of the games we play, you can tell by her legs here, many of the games we play need this. We'll show you again. Again, look at her legs and how deep and black that area is. You can see a little bit of haloing there. Off, there's a great deal more. Now what I will do is go in here and I will actually enable VRR, which will force off the rest of the processing. As I have her turn around, I will do that. That way it's not just a matter of local dimming, it disables other processing as well. Perhaps it's dynamic tone mapping. Again, just showing you the settings here and how it alters the image. You can see how it changes as we move over. Now from this angle, what I'll show you is VRR is enabled. Now, the reason I'm taking the time to show you the steps of going back out is how much of a pain it is to do. Where on these other manufacturers, it's a simple click in the game bar, VRR on, VRR off. You don't have to go back out to your inputs at all. Here we are. Now backing out again, showing you that local dimming is now not a... And now watch as it comes back, the difference. That is massive in terms of its picture quality. So obviously that was VRR on and VRR off. It wasn't as simple as enabling and disabling local dimming. But that difference is immersion breaking in so many of these games that are dark. The majority of titles we play are in dark environments, going into a cave. Look how good the image looks. Very minimal haloing or blooming. Now quickly jumping out of this into regular picture mode again, look how beautiful the picture mode is for Sony. This is why this video and the video coming up is a plea to them to come up with a cinema mode which allows VRR and perhaps a higher input lag. I don't know why they disable local dimming. Samsung has done it for years. But VRR has become one of the greatest things for consoles, but not because of screen tearing. She's also 2 feet tall in this image. But look how beautiful that game mode is. Beautiful and flexible. And if it looked like this all the time, it would be a must-buy. I wouldn't even hesitate. Yep, measuring her, she's over 2 feet tall, which is incredible. But look how clean that image is. The cognitive processor at work. Local dimming, backlight master drive. In a game like Souls, which you go from dark to light, with the full array local dimming enabled, there are no problems. The blooming on the life bars is minimal. And look how deep the blacks are. I know this is a long video. My videos are long. But giving you the proper context on how a gamer feels about this, that really wants this panel, that struggle is real, and it will be real for many of you. You can see the specular highlights. You can see how bright they are. Now, there is no messing with the aperture on the camera. I'm doing nothing to change it. If anything, the camera shows more blooming. But look how beautiful that is. Absolutely stunning image. Very detailed. Now, also, why this is more a concern, guys, is that VRR was just brought to the PS5. It was just brought to Sony panels only a few months ago. And this conversation is not about Sony OLEDs or QD OLEDs. This is about their LED lineup. But the creative way they're using VRR is not the way we intended it to be used. Ratchet & Clank was first with HDMI 2.1, giving it a 4K 40 mode. Now, those of you that have a 4K 60, you'd think, okay, I'm good, it's 4K 60. If you had a GPU and a PC, you'd be fine. However, that's not the case. You actually needed HDMI 2.1 to get 40 frames per second, as that was their 120 mode. So think about that for a second. What the PlayStation is doing with VRR, again, is unlocking frame rates. Ray tracing games are running at 120, 90, 80 frames per second. That motion, those extra frames do make the image so much more fluent. But stripping away the local dimming absolutely cripples this amazing panel. Now here in Ghost of Tsushima, you can see how the blacks are beautiful, how bright the panel is. Again, there's no VRR here. So I started the video showing you how good the picture quality looks on standard game mode. If you do not plan on using VRR on the Xbox or the PS5, then buy it. It's excellent. However, if you do plan on using those amazing features, which will only be used more and more, this panel is very, very difficult to recommend. And I would hope they could remedy it in an update, but that is not something that is easy to do. And hopefully I'm wrong, and I'll be more than happy to be wrong. The reason I show PlayStation 5 instead of Xbox simply because the titles are so different from one another. And the PlayStation having its new variable refresh rate features, it did amazing things. But promise you, you will see more variable refresh rate implementation in more creative ways. It will be more important than we thought. Disable it, you have your local dimming, you're good to go, but chances are you'll be stuck at a frame rate and you won't be able to enjoy it the way many of us are. And sadly, as I finish up this video, look how beautiful the game mode is on this panel. Absolutely beautiful. Specular highlights, you cannot get that on an OLED. Only on an LED can you see this. But if you take away that backlight master drive, you're taking away its greatest strength, its greatest fighter, its greatest weapon out of the battle. And it's a shame. So what do you guys think? Would you be looking still at the X95K for gaming, or the Z9K, which I think may have the same issue, or the X90K, which I will have in a week or so? Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zahn. Check the description for all of their information. Look how bright that is. Absolutely beautiful. All right, guys, have a great night. Love you guys. Take care.